All right, hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Tri-Z, and this is my 1986 Yamaha Tri-Z. So I want you to go back to 1985, and three-wheeling is all the rage. You've got professional 250cc racing circuits. You've got Team Honda, Team Kawasaki battling it out for the championships. Honda has an air-cooled 1983-84 ATC 250R, one of the top-selling bikes, and Yamaha wants to get into the mix. And what do? They create their own 250cc three-wheeler called the Tri-Z. And this is a liquid-cooled version of a 250cc three-wheeler. So the Tri-Z that you're looking at right here is a 1986. And one of the things, if you come closer, you're going to see the 86 is different than the 85 for a number of reasons. First, you're going to notice the color scheme. It's got a set of red rear fenders, white front fender, and it's got red radiator shrouds and a red airbox cap. Watch out, son. And the 86 is different. The 86 is different than the 85 because it's got a few things that they changed out. The first thing that they did, in addition to the color scheme, was they went with a smaller front tire. The 85 had a much bigger front tire. It was 25 inches. This is a 23. They felt that would improve the handling and also lower the center of gravity. Now with the Tri-Z, one of the most interesting things, come take a look, is that you've got the gas tank under the seat. Come closer so you can see. So this basically was an idea that the Yamaha engineers decided would be better to hold the center of gravity down. So you've got a under the tank gas tank, and you've got basically an air box here. Now originally there would be an air box boot that would hold a big air filter, and what's happening with mine is we've basically taken that out and we just have a foam filter to make it simpler. But if you're riding mud and such, you would want to have the full air box. The only challenge with the Tri-Z particularly was the fuel pump, which is here, and the fuel pump is actually driven by the engine. There's a little bitty nipple here that goes into the bottom of the cylinder that drives with the pulse of the crankcase pressure this fuel pump, and sometimes it's hard to start, but once they get going, they work really well. The other thing about the 86 is you've got a little bit, I think, bigger front forks in terms of the size of the stanchion tube. You've also got a little bit more travel. So this particular Tri-Z, funny story about it, I bought it and it was all in parts, and on the listing that I think was on Craigslist, it actually looked like it was all together. It was a picture of the bike or trike, and then when I got there it was all in boxes. So I basically had to put it all together, and it all luckily came out really, really good. Now one of the things you'll hear a lot about with these Tri-Zs, I'll start it up in a minute, is something called the wrench report. And the wrench report was a series of internal bulletins that Yamaha did in the mid 80s to make the Tri-Z more competitive with the 250R. Because if you remember the opening of the story, the 84 250R was air cooled and was probably running about 32 horsepower. It was a great machine, I've got one, but not as fast as what Honda unveiled in 1985, which was the revised liquid cooled third generation 250R, which emitted about 38 horsepower, which was a lot, and that's from my records. And to make this more competitive, in 1985, Yamaha came out with what's called the wrench report. The wrench report mods were things that could be done to the cylinder, to the pipe, to porting, to carburation, to make the bike trike faster. So this particular Yamaha has the phase 1 wrench report, which involved cutting a section of this head pipe out to increase the low end, and also doing some porting work. And with that, I would say definitely this thing now is probably on par with the stock 250R ATC. The one thing about it that's really good, it's got a lot of low end torque, and if you zoom in, you're going to see this here. This is something folks that maybe rode bikes in the 70s would know what it is, called a boost bottle. Yamaha called it its energy induction system, and basically it's a little bottle that contains a little bit of, I guess, boosted air that will come in through and increase low end torque. So that helps the bottom end torque. Compared to the 250R, it's got more bottom end torque, and I think it's got a little stronger mid-range with some of the porting work that's been done, in addition to a bigger carburetor. So the last thing I wanted to say about this is a lot of people think that the top three-wheeler in 1986 was the ATC 250R, but in reality, it's a mixed bag. There was one test that a lot of people don't know about. It's an ATV News, which was a newspaper that actually tested, and it did one of the most thorough tests of the top three-wheelers in 1986 for high performance, which was the Kawasaki Tecate, which also was the Tri-Z, and the ATC 250R. And what they found was that the Tri-Z actually won the shootout and had faster lap times in a wide variety of the different obstacles that they put in front of it. So it's quite possible that had Honda not been so popular and had such great exposure and power, that the Tri-Z would have been more widely known as the top three-wheeler of 1986. But that's of course for you to find out, and if you can find a Tri-Z, you definitely want to check it out. If you can get the 86, it's definitely the better one to have, I think, but it's more rare. There is also a black Tri-Z that was made in 1985 and a half. It was sort of a mid-year release model. I think it was called the Special Edition. Very pretty, all black with chrome wheels or silver alloy wheels. So with that, the other thing that's really unique about the Tri-Z too, you'll see it's got the two dual quartz halogen headlights, which you'll notice on the 350X. Honda, I believe, copied that, or maybe Tri-Z was first. From my remembrance as a kid, Tri-Z was the first one, and they released that well before the 350X, but it's the dual headlight system. So let's try to start it up, at least you can hear it. And starts pretty easy if you have the gas running and the fuel pump working pretty good. So let's see. And that's it, and that's your Tri-Z. Thanks for watching.